Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Telling Tales. Welcome to Blades in the Dark, our regular Tuesday night tabletop roleplay thing. We hope you're well. Yeah, we're all right. We're all right. I've lost a lot of beard, but don't worry about it. It's just something we're all going to have to get used to, including our stream manager, Steve. Hi, Steve. How's it going?
Hey, Matt.
Hey.
I'm good, thanks. Yeah.
Good. Excellent. Good. Steve, as always, will be tinkering away behind the scenes, managing cams and images and chat and all that good stuff. He will keep us on the straight and narrow, and if he appears, just means that something's gone disastrously wrong with the stream rather than the player's actions. That's going to happen no matter what, I think. But we'll see. We'll see. We're going to do a slightly different recap style this week, partly because I forgot to assign recaps, and partly because it occurs to us that, we don't necessarily need to go through all the details of each previous score in these streams, because it's more of like a meta plot light thing. You don't really need to know in too much depth what went down last week. So, yeah, but before we do any recap at all, let's get on with the promo stuff. Down below, you will see a bunch of links. There's links to YouTube and to Twitch. You're watching on one. Please check out the other. There's links to our social media, to our Discord, and to our Patreon. Those all do the things they do. You know the score by now. Go and check them out if you're interested. We run 3 weekly streams here on Twitch. Mondays is what's usually called Cthulhu. They had a week off this week, but they'll be back this coming Monday for, I think, episode 7 of the 3rd part of our Call of Cthulhu trilogy. Tuesday nights is Blades in the Dark, and Wednesday nights is Simbaroom, where we're playing the Throne of Thorns campaign for the next several decades. So yeah, that's good stuff. We also do monthly one-shots, usually on the first Saturday of every month. There's a bunch of those available in VOD form over on our YouTube. Please do check them out. There's Alien, Troika, Morkborg, The Expanse, Honey Heist, loads of others. And the most recent one of that was Dungeon World, which aired a couple of weeks ago and is currently going up in VOD form, in kind of episodic form. And our next one is taking place on the 2nd of October, which, good Lord, is the end of next week. And that will be Chris running Wander Home, which is a wonderful new system. I don't even think it's fully released yet. I think we have our grasping hands on the Kickstarter alpha PDF, and that's what we're using to run it. But it's kind of pastoral, fun little animals going on a journey thing. I've been informed it will be very wholesome. I'll be in it, so I'll be doing my very best to make it as grim and gritty and dark as possible, obviously. But I don't think I'll be too successful, not with someone like Chris at the helm. All right, let's bring on the players one by one. We'll introduce the characters, and then I'll just do a very quick recap of last week's score, and we'll go head first into tonight's role-playing. First up, let's bring on John. John plays Bricks, the group's resident cutter. Just breaking necks, smashing stairs,
getting shot,
and running chest first into gunfire, according to last week's actions. How are you doing tonight, John?
I'm good. I'm awake, and I have a very thematically appropriate pen.
That screams Bricks. It does. It does. All right, let's bring on our second player, Justin. Justin plays 3 Sheets, a character so well named that John Harper, the writer of Blades in the Dark, popped into last week's stream to tell us so. Yeah, hi, Justin.
It's true. And they don't even know what the name is for my other character that I never used was.
Absolutely. I mean,
exactly.
We couldn't use that because obviously we'd be taken off the air. But, we each have to make sacrifices. 3 Sheets is the crew's resident hound, tracker, marksman, and all-round. He's a horrible person. He's just really unpleasant.
I agree. I'm make no excuses for 3 Sheets. I don't think they're the hero of any story, and I don't think they think they're the hero of any story.
Not even their own. No. Not even their own.
No.
So there, lovely. Our third player tonight is Pierre, who plays Echo, the group's lurk, sneaky thief lady, and general rogue, and possessor of demonic mouth in her neck that whispers uncomfortable truths at inopportune times. It feels funny to put that at the bottom of the list, but there we go. Hi, Pierre.
I keep it well hidden, Hi, Matt.
Hi. How are you tonight?
I am well. I am ready for some B lads in
Let's
the
hope.
dark.
Be lads.
Be lads.
Yeah.
Be lads.
We're sea lads at best. So let's bring on the final player, Sam. Sam plays Silver. The group Slide. The keepers, Manipulator, Con Lady, Deceiver, and Social Butterfly. Hi, Sam.
Hello.
Much like you.
Exactly. Somehow considered the nicest of the group. I apparently learned last session, which I think sets a very low benchmark for how nice our group is.
Yeah.
I mean, but I'll take it.
The group is full of just terrible, terrible individuals.
Yeah, I mean, the reason we found that out was because basically the reason you found out that we consider Silver to be the nicest of the group is because Silver exclaimed something like, "Oh, just kill them and get on with it," which we consider to be out of character, but clearly it wasn't. So,
I think it's because we value loyalty, like Donald Trump, very highly, and the only character that's not loyal but is otherwise generally good is Echo. So we think of Echo as being slimy, but actually they have more of a problem with killing people than all of us do.
I think
Killing
Echo
innocents.
does, but Echo is also a person entirely composed of greed. Greed
This
and
is true.
panic.
Yep.
So, and a strange, haunted, faraway look when she thinks no one's looking. So yeah, there we go. They are together, the Keepers, a group of rogues and smugglers who operate out of a lighthouse in Silkshore, in the great darkened city of Duskval. And last week, we had a bit of a kind of a meta plot heavy score whereby the city as a whole was gripped by the fervorous rumors that the Leviathan hunters who provide all the fuel for the city's technology had run out of Leviathans to hunt. Their hunting grounds were dry, and maybe related to this, the Keepers were sent off on a mission to assassinate a Leviathan hunter lurking aboard their ship out offshore, not even in the harbor, quite away offshore, a vast, terrible ship of horrible, like when I think about how I've described it, I think about like how Lovecraft was horribly disturbed by like buildings that were older than 50 years, like, and just the mind-blowingness of this vast vessel that's almost organically grown over the course of the last kind of 1,000 years or whatever. He would have hated it.
I like to think.
Let's not talk about other reasons he might have hated it.
I like to think it's a ship where like the angles don't quite make sense when you look at it, but that's just because no one bothered to use a set square. Rather
Yeah,
than
no one has used a set square when making those. No,
That's class.
absolutely. You made your way aboard, and you snuck around quite unexpectedly well. Barely bumped into anyone apart from one unfortunate who got stabbed and heaved over the side. And then you burst into the captain's cabins under instructions to kill him, burn all his stuff, and probably try and leave his bodyguard alive. Turns out that last one was really easy to do because the bodyguard immediately shot bricks in the chest. Albeit you had also smashed the captain dead in one blow. Most of the documents were burned. Most of them. Apart from one, essentially, I believe written by the captain as a kind of like expose that his fellow Leviathan hunter captains were indeed running dry of fuel. And all the rest of the documents were burned, and you returned to shore having smuggled that with you. I think that's about it, right? You did leave the bodyguard alive. You escaped with just bricks, horribly injured. And yeah, that's pretty much it, I think. Another job well done for Dolmore, who coincidentally, as you found out, works for the most powerful Leviathan hunter captain. So that all sounds like it'll not have any fallout.
I don't think I can see how these plot points are even going to thread together.
I hope they do. This is like at some point I'm definitely going to do a video on how I do like the back end of this, as it were, because it is partly randomized, but like it's basically all random elements that I then try and like build together into this flow that hopefully is satisfying, but we'll see. As for the events in Dosval since then, everything's kind of calmed down a bit. Leviathan Hunter captains turned up with vast amounts of fuel, so clearly those rumors were entirely untrue. Everything's good now. Everything's calmed down through a combination of that, and also because the Bluecoats have been stamping down on people, what with having finally acquired their new gear from somewhere. Rumor has it that the bill hooks helped them with that, but you may never know. It certainly wasn't Skurlock munitions, though, was it? After you blew up that encampment. Speaking of which, we have a score for tonight to discuss. So in a chance meeting at a dockside tavern, Cersei, your contact in the Grinders, mentioned to Silver that someone has been sending people to poke around the docks and asking lots of questions about the Grinders, the Keepers, and some recent large explosions. He thinks the Grinders can handle the heat, but has an odd job in mind if the Keepers want to stay off the radar of whoever is snooping. And maybe it's the Bluecoats, and maybe it's not the Bluecoats, which is perhaps a more terrifying proposition, being as you saw Lord Skurlock of Skurlock Munitions emerge from a cataclysmic tornado of flame completely unharmed. So,
cool.
Without any further ado, let's hop to you meeting up with Cersei. And we're not going to, usually we kind of roll these people in atmospherically, but you know what? We're going to in media res this like crazy. You are standing in what is the threadbare and tattered remains of a former drug den on the docks, right out on the water's edge, kind of peeling walls, bits of fungal bloom in the corners, constant drips from above, and Cersei is stood there, kind of leaning against an empty window frame, gazing, squint-eyed out over the docks, kind of heavily leaning one half of him because he gets around with those crutches. At some point in the past, he's suffered some. Whether or perhaps he was born like this, or maybe he suffered some horrible injury at some point in the past. A couple of large grinders were at the doors of the place, but clearly you are trusted enough not to just off Cersei from being alone in the same room as him now. So that's a positive. He turns to you after having made, kind of small talk. He's kind of quite slim and handsome, and he sort of brushes his loose sandy hair off to one side while leaning on a crutch and says, of course, it's not going to be... We're going to put it on someone else. And it's taken quite some time to try and find someone believable. Parts of this are going to sound like a stretch, but I'll explain. There's a deacon called Evander, handles purchases and goods out on the docks for the Church of Ecstasy. He's been involved in some shady shit, some real shady shit. And look, we figure whoever's asking the questions, it's not the Bluecoats. They just turn up on the docks and start beating the truth out of people, or trying. Whoever this is, they're being a bit more underhand about it, using fences, using dealers on the streets to try and probe for information. It's probably Skurlock. Skurlock's bad news. I don't need to tell you that. He has enemies. A lot of enemies. And we found out, it's not exactly common knowledge, that some of those more fervent enemies are spirit wardens. Why they've got a thing for him, we don't know. Maybe he's just got a thing for them. We can't pin it on spirit wardens because no one knows who any of them are. But they're tight with the church. Maybe they reached out to their allies, thought they'd throw some caltrops down in the way of this deal. And this deacon, he buys and sells dodgy stuff, supplies armaments, odd bits of technology, odd spiritual relics. We figure you track him, try and plant something on him, and then make sure the bluecoats find him. He's obviously got the protection of the church, so they're not exactly just going to stop and frisk him at random. You're going to have to force it. How you do that and what you decide to pin on him is up to you. We're giving you this opportunity, and hey, it's taking care of... We're not that worried about it, but it's taking care of a little business of us, so we'll make sure a little coin goes your way. But we figure both our backs are covered this way.
That makes sense. Is there anything that you're not telling us about this Evander? How he in particular caught your eye?
He just seems like a likely target. Most of these Church of Ecstasy types pretty clean, but he handles the dirty work for them down on the docks. Who's to say he's not corrupt, taking bribes? Who's to say he's not been going to be put out there as a patsy? We have to make it the most suspicious person we can affiliated with them. Seems to be him right now. Bad day to be Deacon Evander.
And the blue cloaks, the blue coats, he's not known to them at the moment.
They'll know him, but they won't go after him.
Sure.
Church doesn't get hit. Not that much anyway.
Okay.
Sounds doable. I'm sure we can manage. As you said, it will help us out as well as yourselves. Should be good for everybody, except for the poor deacon.
We'll give you can give you a description. I can tell you some of the taverns he hangs around in, where he does some of his deals. Haven't got an address, but he lives somewhere on the docks. Details are up to you. He kind of heaves himself up on his crutches and threads his way through the group of you to the decaying stairs leading downstairs back to the waterfront. And he turns around as he does so. He looks like he was going to leave and then just like at the last minute changed his mind about whether or not to say something, and turns around and says, like I say, Skurlock, he's bad news. Don't fuck this up. And you can hear him kind of slowly making his way down the stairs.
Okay. So...
I think, given the rather loose nature of this score as compared to others, I know we normally try and speed this up as much as possible, but I feel just a conversation there in that room about what the hell to do, because it's pretty open-ended, probably might be beneficial here. So take it away.
So I think we've got to find out if he's as dirty as if this Evander is as dirty as he says, then I think there's a real possibility that he's already paying off some of the blue coats, and
True.
we should make sure that he doesn't have any friends, or at least those friends aren't around for when we plant it. I guess the other question is what we're planting.
Yeah.
I think that's the difficult part. Has to be something very incriminating
That they can't ignore.
Yeah, but also that he's not going to immediately notice having on his person or in his house or wherever it is we plant it.
Was there something that you used to do the job that, like some kind of
We did have some devices, but they exploded. That was kind of the point of them, unfortunately.
No idea what was in them.
But you do know, and he's not going to be in this session as a whole, or it occurs to me, and maybe I should have asked him. But I mean, he can either cameo or we can play him. But the devices were created by someone associated with the keepers, by Rook, the leech who accompanied you on the mission.
We get a couple more devices, plant them in their home, along with maybe some evidence that, some kind of
perhaps even just a letter.
Yeah,
that could work. We need
Now-
to find the house first, but it seems incriminating enough.
The other question is how we tip off the Bluecoats. Now, I was wondering, it's not a sure shot, but I did once have a friend. You may have remember him, Dharma. We're not necessarily on the best terms, but perhaps if I gave him a tip-off that there was something big, he might follow up on that.
I like that idea, and surely whoever found out this information, it was a big event. Surely whoever found it out would be in for some kind of reward if they were, the blue coat that discovered this rogue bomber.
Okay, so at the moment, our plan is get some of these explosives or the components to make them from our good friend Rook. Find a time when this Evander is out of his home or workshop.
Yeah, maybe they've got some hobbies or interests that we can find.
Set it up in his house. Tip off the Bluecoats, and then fingers crossed. Maybe,
we could. Tipping off the Bluecoats would work, but also giving them a reason to start poking around. Maybe a particular demonstration that links it to the explosions. If Rook can make a smaller, safer version, maybe we
doesn't
could
have to be safe.
Pull the Bluecoats in. Maybe have your lad at the front.
It's not a bad idea. Maybe we can play it off like he was playing with these explosives and something, some reaction went off in his house, and then some citizen heard a bang.
I mean,
called it in.
It could also be beneficial if he wasn't around to disagree with the story. Perhaps if he were to suddenly explode in a freak accident of his own creation, and the Bluecoats were to turn up at his house and find the evidence. He's dead. All the loose ends are tied up. Nice little bow.
That doesn't seem as fun.
Fair enough. Just putting it out there.
Okay. Are we happy with this?
I'll throw some. I'm not sure there are any pertinent details you could use, but I just thought some flavor of exactly what the Church of Ecstasy is. The Church of Ecstasy is the closest Doskvol has to an official religion. It's by far the most, popular, I guess, religion or church in the city. Although a lot of people would refer to it as a cult, as they do every other kind of belief system there. The central tenet of the Church of Ecstasy is that the body is sacred. The body is worth saving and is to be venerated above all else, which further leads them to the condemnation of spirits and other immaterial beings that kind of represent corruption and unholiness and the profane, as opposed to the sacred of the physical form. I also partly randomly came up with a symbol for them, and the symbol is a hand pointing upwards.
Yeah, I've definitely had some of my Taikarosi brothers and sisters branded as being not of pure body because of their
Sure.
various afflictions.
Yeah, that sounds pretty likely. So that sounds like we've got a plan then, or at least the kind of vestiges of one. Obviously, we don't need to fully decide it yet. So what kind of roles are we going to make? It sounds like, just from my perspective, what you want. First of all, you need to find where this guy lives.
Yep.
Secondly, you need to observe him a bit, kind of figure out his habits, like when it might be a good time to sneak stuff into his house or wherever he lives. It sounds to me like you need to have some kind of meeting with Rook the Leech in order to get some further devices or something to link link it through to him. And it sounds to me like whether it's via Darmot, your estranged friend, or not, you need to have some kind of. Well, if it is through Darmot, it seems like you probably need to talk to Darmot. How's that project coming to become friends with Darmot again?
Let me
It
check.
is 2 out of 8 currently. So
you're not that confident about his reaction to this.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Don't need to be friends to have a good business relationship.
That's true.
And we could engineer it that maybe this helps you get back in favor with Dalmut.
Ticking of a clock.
If he ends up with a big tip off that saves the city.
Yeah.
We should do this more often.
The slight problem is Dharma is not the most power hungry man, as far as I'm aware. He is mainly just a hungry man.
He's a hungry man. Yeah.
He likes the fineries of this world and good food and drink, but he's not as ambitious as perhaps. But we'll see. I'll make it.
You can always find another blue coat to dob him in if this doesn't pan out.
Yeah.
We can leave a recording on the stairs of the city hall or something.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing that can happen.
Sure.
Why not? With that in mind, who wants to take a role for us to start doing the early work on this score?
I would like to make a hunt roll to locate a target, which I get a +1 effect for.
Absolutely. So why don't you do that? I will. Hey, as if I would use the same trick over and over again.
+1 effect.
Would you? Yeah. Would you like a blades? Would you like a blades? Would you like a devil's bargain for a tick of the clock?
No. I feel that this is going to be fine. I don't think that there's anything that could go wrong.
Control roll.
I'm planning on rolling and succeeding. That's my plan.
That's a great plan.
You guys should plan that more of the time.
6 and a 3.
6 and a 3. You go around the taverns that Cersei mentioned to you. You keep your eye out, and you see him kind of within an hour of your arrival. He's sat in the corner talking to some unsavory-looking dock workers, seeming to be come into some kind of an agreement with them. He is quite a sort of athletic looking guy, like quite he's not that young, but certainly not older just yet. He's quite easily distinguishable by kind of halfway down one arm of his long dark robe. He has kind of the bottom half of it like kind of folded up and pinned up, so at some point he's kind of lost his hand or his forearm there. As I say, it's quite typical of the Church of Ecstasy to wear kind of like long dark robes, but they also don't tend to have a particularly prescriptive, uniform, as it were,
No.
except at the kind of higher ranks. But he's fairly recognizable as a member of the Church of Ecstasy, for a start from that, and secondly, from a silver pin badge on his breast of a hand with a finger pointing heavenwards. Yeah. And after you find him, you rather successfully track him around for a couple of hours. You see him go into a couple of the taverns, a couple of warehouses to have similar conversations, and then you track him to kind of, it's not exactly the worst place to live on the docks, but it's not the best either. It's kind of a relatively small tenement building, only 4 stories or so, and he goes up the kind of a rough, rusty fire escape on the side of the building and disappears into the top apartment there, and doesn't emerge. Well, you wait for about 6 hours and he doesn't emerge, so you assume he's gone home, got to sleep, because it's the night time. Yeah.
Cool.
This is where he lives, guys. He lives in this rubbish area of the docks.
Very good to know.
That's where we should plant all the things.
Okay. And
Did the place look secure?
Not particularly, no.
Be easy to get in.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the next step is talking to Rook about getting something to plant in this house.
Who is going to go talk to Rook?
I am happy to talk to Rook.
Mm-hmm. And
I
what
am
kind of...
also sorry.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
What kind of role are you going to make there, Sam?
I think sway to convince him to give us some stuff.
That seems likely. Are you going to assist there, John? Is that why you're...
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Gives me 4 dice. I got a 6 as my highest result.
Okay. All 6s this week. You turn up at Rook's hovel. You've had a few dealings with him sort of since then as well, and you kind of bang. He's in like a sort of basement area underneath a... let's add some flavor here. Where do we think this will be underneath? Let's roll for a weird place for him to live underneath here, because why not use tables if there's tables? He lives under a shady waterfront bank that may or may not essentially be a front for a loan shark. And as you hammer on the door, you hear some kind of sort of quiet speaking from behind it, in a sort of, in that universally recognized all right sort of tone. And he opens the door. He is a stout individual wearing a hooded coat, work boots and rough trousers. And he just kind of peers round, looks like he's perhaps had a little worse for wear from one thing or another, whether it's, maybe drink or any of the other vices of the docks, but maybe also just the fumes of his experimentation and tinkering. And as you kind of stand there on the porch, he steps aside and sort of gestures with a slightly languid movement of his arm for you to head inside.
We'll head in. Rook, it's fantastic to see you again. I'm glad you're doing so well here. We just had a slight bit of business to clear up. I'm sure you remember the job we did a while ago. With
your heavy ever shut the door?
Bricks, I think he would like you to shut the door. But of course, up to you.
With a very pointed look, I will kick the door shut.
I've got a lot of work to do, Silver. What do you want?
Look, I'm sure you remember the man who was running the show at that job we did, where we blew up
Skurlock, yes, I know who Skurlock is.
Well, we've had word that he's after us. He's looking around,
What?
digging in. Yeah, exactly. Not the kind of man we want hot on our tail. So we're taking action to avoid any possible consequences coming back to us.
Rook is already turning around and is heading over to a nearby work table and kind of like pulling boxes and mechanisms aside and seems to be searching for something.
All we really need from you is some kind of device similar to the ones we used that we could use to incriminate somebody else and throw them off our trail.
He turns around and kind of stomps over towards you and holds out. It doesn't look like the entire kind of like almost satchel-like device that you had with the, I believe I just got kind of like a glass gourd inside it with like, I think bright green liquid that when smashed would obviously cause the explosion or would start the process that caused the explosion. He doesn't have that whole thing, but what he does have is the gourd full of the liquid, which is kind of stoppered up rather heavily and is sort of cushioned slightly in almost like a little padded fabric thing that's there to kind of slightly reduce the risk of it cracking open or something. And he stomps over to you and not particularly gently thrusts it out towards you.
Thank you. I think this should do nicely. Is this something we should be worried about taking especially good care of?
It's not volatile unless exposed to air or water. Don't get water in it either. The point is, if you shake it, nothing's going to happen. Just don't smash it.
No,
don't smash it.
Right.
Unless the point is to smash it, in which case smash it.
I mean, we were also looking for something that did a much smaller explosion, but we'll take this, and I very gingerly take it from his hands and try not to drop it.
I would gladly give you a smaller amount of it, but the act of separating out a smaller amount of that would be incredibly dangerous. Did I mention it cannot be exposed to air?
Yeah, you mentioned, and water.
Right.
Okay.
Is that it?
That's it. Hope if we have not been exploded, I hope to see you around soon.
Let me know if you've got work that pays. He stomps over to the door, opens it, and kind of indicates that you should leave him to his whatever state he's in.
Silver, can I borrow your cloak?
All right, I suppose.
It's just rude.
I'll hand in my cloak.
I will drape the cloak over.
And make your way to somewhere where it can be stored safely. Where do you store it as you're preparing for the job, out of interest?
That's a bloody good question.
Just on the edge of a table.
In reach of the hunting ferret.
We rest it on top of Odgar's birdcage.
God.
Or maybe just in the birdcage. It's
Why don't we?
An exotic breed.
Why don't we just give it to Nicholas? I'm sure he'll take good care of it.
Just give it to Nicholas. Yeah,
reliable
he's never
as always.
falling around. Or...
No.
Absolutely. What other roles do we want to make it as preparation for this?
So I wanted to speak to Dharma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there we go. Well, you've got a role to make, and then you can tell me how you find him and what where you talk to him. Although obviously, if you just roll ones, then.
So I guess do I know roughly where Dharma
Yeah, you've been friends for a few years. Yeah, you know the kind of places he patrols, the kind of places he frequents. You know all this stuff.
Yeah,
but I would urge you to make the roll before you make a decision, because
Okay.
you could then factor that in, you know?
Sure. Okay, I guess I will. So I'm rolling to find him basically, or to know.
Oh, no. You can find him automatically. You're rolling to
Okay.
see how the conversation with him goes.
Okay. Well, in that case, I'm using sway. Do
I want? Is the devil's bargain appropriate? Yeah, all right. I'll give you a devil's bargain, and the devil's bargain is a reduction of the project clock that you have for him.
a reduction of the project clock for a better outcome here.
Or a possible better outcome, not a guaranteed one.
I need this. Okay, I will accept this devil's bargain.
Okay.
Why couldn't you just have offered me a tick of a clock?
It's the untick of a clock.
Oh,
Subverting expectations.
So subversive.
So subversive.
okay, and I can't push myself because I've accepted this. I think I'm going alone. So I will
Seems
roll
likely.
my sway. Am I in a desperate action? Is this a desperate action?
No, but I think it's risky.
Okay.
I think it is risky, but it's not. No, it's not desperate.
It's not desperate. Okay. I rolled a 6 and a 1. So
There we go. Then, so maybe worthwhile. And you know what? Because you rolled a 6, just knock that project clock back by 1, please, John.
So you said it's gone down by 2 and then up by 1, right?
I don't think I said it's gone down by 2.
Oh.
Or up by 1.
It's gone down by
It's gone
1.
down by 1.
Full stop.
So the devil's bargain made it go down by 1,
Oh, and then
but
it
a
came
bad success could have also made it go down by another 1.
Yeah, well, yeah. I
Right.
was just basically just judging it how much I took off it based on how you're
I
rolling,
see.
basically.
Gotcha.
So it's not in the rules. I just make it up.
No, makes sense.
So where are you catching up with Dharma?
So I think the best place for this would actually be when he's out on patrol, because this isn't like I think that the thing I'm trying to sell him on is not that this is like me trying to schmooze him and convince him of the thing. It's more me like kind of worried and in need of like assistance, or like maybe even worried about Dharma. And like this is a pretty urgent thing.
Sure.
So like trying to find a time when he's away from his partner, or I don't know.
Sure, yeah.
Always...
Well, blue coats tend to patrol in like groups of 3 or 4, honestly, because if they patrol on their own, they end up disappearing, and their boots are found one day full of crabs on a beach. But in this case, Dharma is someone who has a lot of ties to the docks. And is safer than most blue coats to do that. And you know what? You find him late one night on a quayside, looking out over the boats. And as you're kind of approaching, you're not sure he knows you're there, and you can see him sort of like standing there, clearly kind of bored and fatigued with his patrol, looking out over the still waters of the bay, kind of a crinkling sound as he's unwrapping some kind of like small, sweet treat of some kind, and pops it into his mouth and rolls it around. He's quite a striking individual by the light of the gaslight of the evening. He's an athletic, and I think I've described him as kind of pretty but worn. He's got that looks of a very good-looking young man who's just starting to tip over the edge into aging. Kind of a few crow's feet there now. And he's just standing there. Go for it.
Okay. So after spotting him, I think I'll initially approach, and then I'll actually take a few steps back, and then approach making noise as I walk, so that I'm not like trying not to surprise him. Maybe clearing my throat.
Just incredibly awkward.
And I'll say, "Oh, fancy seeing you here. You remember? You actually picked me up. This was the first time This is where you first caught me.
He stands still for a few seconds and then kind of slowly turns around and levels a stare at you, and you are seriously concerned for a second that he's going to just grab you and kind of bang you up against like some crates on the quayside, or even just kind of toss you into the water. But he clearly kind of restrains himself, and you can just see his hand kind of flexing on that sweet wrapper and the crinkling underneath it. And he just kind of goes, "What do you want?"
Look, I know I've screwed up, but there's something that's urgent. In the next, there's been information that I've stumbled upon, and it's dangerous. And I'm scared, and I need some help.
So why don't you get your murderer pals to help you with it?
Look, this city is tough. Sometimes,
What do you want? What do you want, Echo?
what I want.
A little voice under your scarf goes, "Everything."
Yeah, well, in 2 days' time, there's going to be something going down at this address, and I palm him like the address that we've scouted out.
He kind of snatches it off you, looks at it, and says, "What kind of thing?"
You know those explosions.
Yeah, I think I remember that, Echo. I think that's why we can't talk anymore.
Yeah, well,
Is there a lead on that?
the man responsible for that, we found him.
You found him. You're giving him up, is what you mean. He kind of gestures at you with the rolled up paper and says, "If you're fucking me on this, I mean it. I'll have you. And your pals. Everyone in that fucking lighthouse. Banged up or worse."
Damn, it doesn't have to be like this.
It really does. He tucks the note into the pocket of his coat and kind of walks past you. If you don't give way, he will barge you to one side.
I think I'll kind of like let myself be hit, and then just kind of sit on the edge of the dock, like looking out over the water as he leaves, and I will just like put my head in my hands.
Echo's only friend. Yeah. Well, that seemed to go
God.
well. So, are there any other rolls we want to make before engagement, folks?
We need to have him out the house so we can break in. So when is he going to be out of the house?
Well, I think your scouting role kind of dealt with like his comings and goings, but I think possibly the engagement role will determine how well that happens, I think. But is there anything else? Because obviously this is seeming like fairly light in terms of just pure activity at the moment, which is fine. We can have a shorter score and a shorter stream, I guess. We can always pad out the stream at the end by talking a bit about Blades in the Dark and stuff. But it's up to you guys. Is there any other elements of this, or are we literally kind of? So the idea is you're breaking in. Are you leaving the thing, or are you setting it off?
Well, my understanding from what happened previously, setting it off would level the building.
Possibly.
So that seems a tad
and also,
too much.
This thing is not contained in the satchel, which had clearly had some kind of rigged mechanism that after the crack, there was an amount of time before the air reached the substance, and this is not that. Like, you could maybe just lob it in or something, but you'd have to be nearby to do that.
I think the plan. What I imagined doing was like pulling up a floorboard or something, and then poorly concealing that location, so it looked like the hiding place had not been properly hidden away, so that when there's an investigation, if Dharma is more than half competent, they will see a hiding place. But that would require Dharma to turn up fairly quickly after, at the right time, and also perhaps involved with delaying this fanatic long enough for Dharma to get in and see the place. You know what I mean? Because if the guy goes home, he might go, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah, if they're there at the same time, his story might pan out a bit more. But if he's just arriving later and they're, and
they're already there going,
yeah, exactly. Like,
so I guess we need someone to.
The Bluecoats aren't known for their subtlety or patience.
Yeah,
and they're fairly violent and. Corrupt.
I think there's I see two parts to this: the breaking and secreting of this device, and the delaying of this person, which could be done anyway. It could be that we maybe like if they like betting, we could do that. If they like fighting, maybe the fighting pits. If they like buying things, maybe Silver can take them on a personalized shopping spree.
To me, this sounds almost 3-part, right?
Okay.
It sounds like you want to break in and A, secrete it, and B, find out how you might delay them better by having a look around their place.
Sure.
Does that sound like an idea? Because you don't know. Like, you've only seen them engage in meetings with people. You haven't seen them engage in any particular vice or practice or anything like that. But maybe you could get some clues to that place, or you could just try and distract them with some kind of scheme. I'm assuming whatever scheme you want it to be, you don't want the deacon to be able to recognize any of you.
Nope.
Yeah. And maybe we could. Yeah, exactly.
The other thing is, we did mention leaving a letter as well. I don't know if that's still part of our plan.
Yeah.
To further kind of bury this guy.
In which case, I think a roll to pen that would actually be quite a good thing, to come up with some kind of even if you want, because obviously I understand kind of more about how the things tick away in the background of the city. So if you want, you could make a roll for that, and I could suggest to you things that might make sense from things you might have heard.
Do we know any forgers?
I'm sure you know some forgers.
Maybe we could forge ultimately. This person is either going to have decided to blow up these munitions for their own purposes, in which case we're kind of blaming this on the church, or we're saying they went off-piste and they've been paid off by some other personage, I don't know, in which case we're trying to pin this on maybe a rival gang, maybe the Bill Hooks or something.
I doubt the Bill Hooks would have blown up the Bill Hooks.
Yeah.
Oh no, they're the Bluecoats.
I think, but they are kind of close.
The blue coat, literally you could. It's interesting because you could say they blew it up because they wanted to supply them with stuff later. That's quite contorted, but hey, maybe it could work. I think what Cersei's done is given you a rationale.
Yeah.
By giving you this guy, he said this is believable that he would do it for the church.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
But it's up to you if you want to deviate from that.
Then maybe he wouldn't get. Maybe maybe what we're looking for then is almost a confession note, or
his orders.
I think. It could even be like, job well done on that. Munition shipment. Here's your payment enclosed.
Yeah.
That's the letter.
And the remnants of it kind of in the fireplace badly.
Maybe we could chuck a few coin together and make it look like he's been paid off. Doesn't have to be. He could have spent most of it by now, but you know what I mean, like a coin or two.
If you use just money randomly within the story, it doesn't have to actually come out of your coin. If you see what I mean.
Sure. Okay.
Right. So, go on, John.
do we need to do we also need to talk about how to get the blue coats to search the apartment? Because obviously Dalmut's been tipped off that something is going to happen, but you haven't said arrive at this time.
Well,
and
if it
just randomly search the apartment.
It's just a case of getting lucky with the timing, I think.
I guess, but do we need to do something to give them cause to search the apartment?
So I thought maybe if we needed to, 3 Sheets could explode one of his charges of that crazy gun that he has, and that
does draw the attention of the spirit wardens, but
yeah.
Well, I mean, it could just be a normal round. You know, they have gunpowder in them, right?
Loud, yeah.
Well, they don't, but your gun will have gunpowder in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That could be a thing. I don't know. This whole thing is getting a bit convoluted-y. We could just turn up and then meet Dalmut there and be like, yeah, in that room.
He's not going to want to see you guys.
No, I know, but you could do it.
And it would mean the blue coats would get a look at you and then associate you with this.
I think, I mean, I know the blue cloaks are not always the greatest, but you'd hope that if they've received a tip-off of a specific house and they're going to show up at all, that when they arrive, they would search the house, hopefully.
I mean, sure, but Darmot's immediate reaction was to go, "Oh, right, you're setting this guy up because you did it. He knows you did it. That's why you broke. That's why you fell out with it."
Yeah, but like if he shows up and doesn't find anything, you'd think that looks bad for him. So he's gonna at least try and try and find something.
You do what you want. I think you're assuming he's going to turn up alone.
Yeah, I think he's going to turn up with loads of people.
Well, I always think that makes it more like if he shows up, has a bunch of guys with him, I don't think he's going to knock on the door and like no one answers. He's just going to be like, "Oh, well, I guess you've all come here for nothing." I think like he's going to be more eager to prove that he has a good tip-off and he's actually found something if he's brought people with him and is coming to investigate this tip-off.
How about this for a plan? We have one group of us. So we plant the explosives. We plant the incrimination. We have half of us keep track of the state of the blue coats and when they are coming, and we have the other half of us keep track of our priest, our deacon.
I think
try and coordinate.
Sorry, I think the point of this was that you don't want them to arrive as you're planting stuff. Of what we were discussing here, and you don't know when they'll arrive. Like I think we may be getting too far into how do we control the circumstances we cannot control here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's just say we're going to open up with you planting the stuff.
Yeah.
And then let's have a group of you that are trying to distract the deacon for as long as possible. I don't think you can control when the blue coats arrive. You know, whether that's convenient for you or like what, because you can't contact them to talk about that, and you'll really start if you start interfering with them, you'll really run the risk of them just arresting you instead.
Makes sense.
So I think they can remain as an outside factor that of excitement of maybe they'll arrive at an inopportune time. That's fine. So with that in mind, let's look at our engagement roll. It seems to me like we're starting this with stealth. Do you guys agree?
Stealth or deception?
Well, if you're,
stealth.
How are you getting inside the place?
Yeah, probably stealth.
Because if that's where we're kind of launching this, then I think that's probably what we're doing.
Through the door?
Point of infiltration. Yeah, you can just go through the door, or you can try and see if there's like a window on the roof or something. You do whatever you want. Why don't you just tell me where you're going?
Yeah, we're going in through the window towards the roof,
stealthier,
so that no one sees us coming or going.
Now, I can anticipate the most appropriate splitting of the group on this, and conveniently, I feel like we might have them on one side and on the other. But it's up to you guys. But my gut would tell me 3 Sheets and Echo are breaking in, and Bricks and Silver are doing the like the delaying and distracting. Does that sound about right?
That does
Prowlers and
sound-
non-prowl.
The only thing is we had considered trying to find out ways to distract this guy in his house. So
Yeah, there is. So maybe everyone breaks in at first, and then,
yeah, and then we go and find the guy, and Three Sheets and Echo try to manage the blue
manage
coats.
the blue coats in some way. Sure.
Or if you're, I guess that's going into deception, but if you're feeling particularly skilled with your disguise kit, we could set up a buyer's meeting with him.
Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah,
You know what? I feel like let's not get too. You can make stuff up on the fly. You know, we don't have to decide
Yeah.
everything now.
And there's flashbacks and things too.
Absolutely. So let's start with your engagement roll. You get 1 for luck. I'd say you have another 1 for thoroughly knowing where he is. I'd say you have another 1 for knowing his routine. I can't think of many more factors. Maybe I'll remove 1 because you don't know when the blue coats are arriving. How about that? That's like a shaky element. Anything else that anyone wants to argue for?
Nope.
Perhaps only that his house is not
His house is
secure.
not secure.
House is not secure. Sure. We good with that? Sounds like we're
Yep.
good with that.
Loving it. Roll the dice.
Roll the bones. Okay, folks. We have a 3,
Mhm.
a 4,
Good start.
and a 4. So
Loving it.
we're starting in a risky position. And that risky position, I don't want to get all fancy with this. Let's just say that it's whoever of you feel would be on the roof, are on the roof, kind of in sight of the street below a little bit. It's kind of like a shallow slope of a roof. And there is a kind of skylight window that just looks like a hole has been hacked in the roof and a rough piece of glass has been shoved in there. So it's not exactly fancy. And kind of whoever is up there is up there. Whoever is not is, I would assume, maybe by his doorway. You saw him leave about half an hour ago, so he's definitely not here. Who is on that roof?
I am definitely on the roof.
Anyone else? Or is this just an echo job?
I think Three Sheets will be up there. Three
Sure.
Sheets is getting used to prowling.
Absolutely. So I guess the idea here is we're making a roll to see how well and quietly and all the rest of it you can get through that window. Window's a strong word for it. Pane of glass, and into the room below. What are we going to be rolling for that as you're kind of balancing in the frigid night air of Doskvol?
Finesse.
Not a lot of light, it has to be said.
Yeah, I was thinking finesse just to try and
Like
pry
lift it
open this
out
window.
or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds very appropriate. Are we doing that as a group action, or is one person and one person assisting, or just one person? What are we doing?
I think I'll just do it. Do you want to assist?
Cool. I'm happy to assist if you want.
Cool.
Okay, I will offer you a devil's bargain for a tick of a clock.
So much of my soul is saying yes. I think I'd be a hypocrite if I said no. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Let's roll 5 dice.
Roll. Nice.
Wow.
5.
I rolled 4 2s and a 5.
Oh, that's some risky stuff. Okay.
Or even the chances of that.
Same as every other chances of every other roll that you can roll.
Yeah, it's true. So as you are sort of you're kind of balanced on that roof, kind of like in my head, like Echo has one foot on either side of that window and he's just kind of trying to get your fingers around it to lift that rough pane of glass up. Three Sheets like stood above you, sort of trying to like steady you and steady the glass at the same time. You lift it up and out, and I kind of like you know, bringing it over to one side, and you just place it quite carefully on the slate of the roof to one side and look down, and, you know, getting in now. He's left kind of a lantern on in his chamber, kind of like turned down very low. And it looks like just maybe a 7-foot drop or so, and it looks pretty decent actually. And as you're kind of like looking down there surveying it, you just hear a kind of skittering noise, followed about 5 seconds later by a whoosh out on the street below.
I cringe. I listen for a moment, and then I look at 3 sheets, I shrug, and then I kind of go in.
This is not good.
You definitely hear some voices on the street below, but not particularly like alarmed ones, just kind of, that kind of distant. So people have noticed it, but no one's like raising the hue and cry or anything.
It's duskfall.
Yeah.
Okay, so I descend.
This is such a shit job.
Like the voice in my neck goes, agreed.
I'm not going to make you it's just a 7-foot drop. You can just hang over it and drop down, and you're there in a chamber. It looks to be one chamber of 2 in this rather small apartment. There is oddly well kept wallpaper on the walls in an just a kind of general abstract pattern. A couple of shelves are up. There's a rather severe looking, slightly padded chair. And a table, a small table next to it that has a couple of quite well kept actually and bound. Plenty of people in Doswell have books and read books, but these are quite bound quite nicely and look to be kept in fairly good condition. And they're just sat on the bedside table. You can also see the front door, outside of which I would assume is bricks and silver. But you don't have to be. But are you waiting there to be let in?
Yes.
I'll make my way. I'll do an initial look and see if there's anyone else in this house, because obviously this would be bad.
There is not. The other chamber is a small bedroom with a very functional looking single bed in there that has a bedside table that has a big stack of those well kept books on it.
Okay. I will go to the front door and I will let in silver and bricks.
Now, to do that, you're going to have to unlock it.
Yep.
So start thinking about that roll. 3 sheets. Have you kind of lowered yourself in, or are you kind of lurking on the roof?
Oh, I'm going to go in.
You're in there as well. Okay. Echo. What roll? I can feel
Finesse.
a finesse roll coming over the horizon.
Finesse.
Yeah.
I'm lock picking with my fine lock picks that I have.
Mm-hmm.
I went for normal load, by the way.
Cool.
Well, yeah, good point.
Yeah, setting loads. This is I'd say this is a risky roll just because of the noise you just made. So we'll go with that. I have no devil's bargain for you.
Okay, well, I'm just going to use these lock picks as best I can. I rolled a 5.
Well, that's pretty good. Okay. You managed to open the door. In doing so, you think you have just slightly broken the mechanism. You felt something give just a bit too much. So you think if anyone knows what they're looking at, they'd definitely be able to see that this door has been jimmied. But maybe they will, maybe they won't.
Sure.
On the other side and I can imagine a kind of I don't think Silver's particularly short, but you open the door and there's these 2 shadows outside, and one of them's huge against the kind of starless night sky, and the other is Silver.
Oh. Everything going smoothly?
What was that noise?
Which one? The breaking of the lock or the smashing of the window?
You sort of just answered my question. It's all right.
Yeah,
one of my favorite Blades moments so far was just then with, I don't know if it was just Sam just looking at the camera, but just giving this look of when you asked that, just going, just this dead-eyed. Yep. She's not angry, she's just disappointed.
Yeah. But I was working with professionals here.
Yeah, well, This is going about as well as all of our other capers. Look, I don't need to bullshit you guys. We're a shoddy crew. we don't do things quiet, and we don't make no mess.
It's fine. We're 2 blocks away from a canal. You're fine.
I'm really tempted just to blow this place up and just wipe my hands of the whole situation.
Please, let's just stick to the plan. Come on.
If we just crack this thing now,
Then
If we crack it now,
die.
exactly.
we'll just chuck it in, and then we won't have to explain the broken glass or the broken door.
If
it'll
you
all be
want to
broken.
chuck it in, you can do that, but I will be at least 2 blocks away.
Okay, let's find this guy's fucking vices and get out of here.
Already on it.
Do you want me to hand you the device, or do you want, someone who hasn't smashed a window to hold on to it?
Matt,
You're muted, thank God.
Still wrapped in Silver's cloak, I assume.
Yeah.
No, I think we've probably swapped it for something not
Okay.
quite as incriminating.
Turn Silver's cloak inside out.
Yeah,
Well,
that's less incriminating.
I would
3
want my
sheet-
cloak
yeah.
back, please.
in the time while this conversation's been happening, 3 Sheets has been searching for actual hidden places where this person hides their actual dirty secrets.
Sure,
You know,
yeah,
They might actually have like a hidden compartment in a dresser
maybe.
or
Full of
something
explosives.
like that. You don't know. So 3 Sheets, I get the idea that they're used to kind of hunting out this kind of blackmail material from people's houses. They're checking all the known spots.
Yeah,
They're
absolutely.
checking.
When you talk there about you'll uncover like explosives, I don't know why, but my mind went to, and this is a very niche reference, people, very niche. I just got the impression of you like finding like a loose brick or like a little compartment to slide aside or something, and in my head, like, okay, there's a scene in Blackadder Goes Forth, the series, where General Melcher is hiding from Blackadder by just standing fully visible behind a board with a little slide aside thing in it. And I just had an impression of you doing that, and behind it is just Lord Skurlock. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
probably won't happen.
Probably.
Let's see how many ones you roll.
okay, but so what you're saying is that there is a compartment with a thing that you can slide across at eye height.
Yeah, sure. No, okay. Justin, what are you making a hunt roll, that kind of thing?
I would make a hunt roll. Does anyone want to offer assistance?
Yeah, I'll assist you.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, not to
Or
put
is
a
this-
fly in the ointment. You did say while the conversation is happening.
That is true. I did say that. I'm just gonna push myself then.
Sure. I have no devil's bargain,
That's fine.
and you're pushing yourself anyway.
I rolled a 6, 2, and a 4.
Ooh,
Nice.
nice. You find not a not Lord Skurlock hiding in the wall, but you
Shame.
do find that there is a brick to be removed over the fireplace. There's a small fireplace.
Oh
in
yeah,
this
the
main
old
chamber.
fireplace brick.
And you manage to find the brick and remove it. And behind that are a number of what look like work orders and heavily coded, presumably like letters, communiques. You definitely can't interpret them in any way because, as I say, they're written in code, a kind of odd, sharply angled script you don't recognize. But they do look, highly secretive. And the work orders have a lot of financial movement back and forward on them. Seems odd for you'd say it seems odd for a church, but you're
No.
pretty sure the Church of Ecstasy is wrapped up in a load of shady shit anyway. So
Now, Matthew, you're not knowledgeable of history. Did you say this brick is it more like a Roman brick or a modern brick?
it's more like a modern brick.
Right. Would there be space to hide a bottle behind, or is it? Just, could you fit it in?
I'll do a fortune roll for you. How about that? To see how
Please,
big
please.
the cavity is
You
behind
can
it.
make it bigger.
And
Bricks
not
is
just-
it?
You could maybe make it bigger. It might be noticeable. We'll see how that roll goes. But it's not. Of course, it's not just the space of the cavity behind, but the space of getting that gourd
Yeah,
thing
the
through. But
aperture.
we'll do a fortune roll. I don't see there's any like
You could just shove it.
particular thing. I'm just going to roll a die.
Please don't just shove it.
Just shove it.
Here's the thing. It's big enough, you think, to get it through. It's big enough to place it, but it's going to be a roll to do it and not have some kind of mishap happen.
You see, also, what we don't want to happen is for them to try and take it out later and yank it out, smash it, blow themselves up, and then the whole thing just we just got Echo's just said, "Go to this house, it'll be fine," and then they just they die in a horrible explosion.
I mean, it would solve the bad relationship with Dharma.
In a way. So the answer is yes, it can be secreted there, but it's going to have to be done carefully to avoid some kind of mishap.
That in that case, we are not going to do that
Find somewhere else.
I think we might hide. Like, can we have a flashback to having written that note? Because we never actually did it, did we?
No, like the faked note that you never made a roll for it. So, do you want to? I tell you what, this is your choice. You can either make a roll to see how well you do writing it, or you can spend 1 or 2 points of stress, and I will give you a kind of. I will just use that to give you how well you've done it. Does that make sense? So it's your choice whether you make a roll or do some stress for it.
I don't know now.
It doesn't have to be you. It can be, whoever else. I mean, I feel like Silver's the one who fakes notes here.
I mean, faking is like, it doesn't need to be from someone. We're not trying to forge. We're just trying to...
But you still are looking to write something with no real knowledge of, the kind of,
The content is fake.
Yeah, and also it's like, we're just here like looking at a box of secretive notes written in some kind of cipher, and then on the top of them is like grandma's "Thanks for doing the explosion job." Like,
thanks for all the bombs.
Exactly. Signed, your secretive employer.
Signed the church.
Yeah. I don't know.
As soon as you discover that, if I find out that you had that we've got this coded book, is we steal that coded book, and then when the church finds out that this guy was hit and taken, and nobody found any incriminating code book, they know he's been set up.
Yeah,
right?
They could leave him out to fucking hang.
Yeah. Whereas
that's real smart. That. Yeah, I like that.
I didn't follow that at all.
So I think part of the idea was like, if like you said, like it'll look real suspicious if there's a load of coded work orders, and then my first forgery is lying on top of that, sort of thing. But Pierre's notion was if you grab the work orders and just put that in there, then not only does that not leave like a jarring collection of evidence of like this does not look like the other things, but also if his superiors in the Church of Ecstasy learn that none of their actual documentation has been found that may show dodgy dealings, then they'll just go, all right, well, no loss then. Just let him take the, let him hang. Who cares?
Yeah, and if they come after us, we have some leverage.
I like this plan.
Yeah.
I like that. But we still have to talk of this forgery, so we're going to do a flashback to orchestrate it. Feels like Silver's wheelhouse, but whoever wants it can take it, and it's your choice. You can either make a roll, and how well you do is how well you do, or you can just spend 0, 1, or 2 stress, and I will assign how well you do based on how much stress you spent. Justin?
I reckon Valeris, as a spy, is the kind of person who knows how to forge documents.
Oh, so you could make a roll to have asked Valeris to do it. Yeah, or spend the stress to do it.
Was Valeris involved in the score at all?
I don't know, but also we just got a pop-up saying we're having trouble streaming to Twitch, so I think we might be off the air.
I think you might be right.
Oh, no.
I think we are off the air,
Yes,
and it doesn't appear to have restarted it.
Well, if you're watching this recording, technical. issues.
Yeah, there will be a record. This will be we are on VOD, folks. So back on?
I think. Yes.
We're back on?
Because I just watched myself go, aha.
Cool. Sorry about that, folks. Technical difficulties. We are back. We are back with you. For some reason, StreamYard absolutely hates Blades in the Dark and splits it in half every single week. But we will attempt to find out why.
Cool.
So
what we're saying is they're going to do a forgery, and maybe we're going to get Valeris to write a note saying...
we have two options here. Silver forges it, or Free Sheets asks Valeris to forge it. And both of those things can be done either with a roll or spending of stress. Who's doing it, and what are they doing?
I'm happy to roll for it. I would not spend stress to do it. So...
How about we see how the roll with Silver goes, and if it goes badly, then we'll try and get another one.
Yeah, then you can do a backup. Sure, I'm happy with that.
Yeah,
I think if there's a backup, it's got to be stress.
Yeah.
Does that sound fair?
Yeah.
Sure.
I
Okay.
think so.
Okay.
Just go to Valeris, like, look, we tried, we were shit.
So what role are you going to do for this, Silver? I know what I think the best one would be. Of course, that doesn't mean it's what you take.
Tinker, right?
Tinker?
Depends on what your focus is, doesn't it? Whether you're trying to make it look right or trying to make it sound right. You know what I mean? But I think Tinker would be a good one. I also think Study would be a very good one.
Study.
But there's other options. I think Finesse is an option.
I mean, I
think weirdly Consort would be an option.
I was honestly thinking Sway because I'm just trying to convince someone with words. They're just
I think that's standard. I think that's standard effectiveness. So I'm happy to go with that if you want to go with that. I will offer you a devil's bargain for the ticking of a clock. Devil's bargain in a flashback.
Normally I don't accept these, but I think
you need it. We need it.
At this score, I think things, seems like we're just gonna do this too easily. It's too easy. Yeah. We need some clocks ticked. So
I think so.
I'll take the devil's bargain.
I just love it. It's always just like the clock is like Silver has a heart attack. It's just like...
Okay, so I'm gonna roll 4 dice. I got a 6 and 2 5s and a 2.
Way!
Silver, you basically decided you went full method on this one. You went and attended like a Church of Ecstasy gathering to sort of try and like get into the headspace of kind of how they talk, the kind of language they use. You went and bought yourself some fancy ink and a fancy kind of old-fashioned quill to sort of really make it good. You aged the parchment a bit by kind of like toasting it over an open fire with the right collection of rubbings on there. And you know what? You did a pretty damn good job, you think. Any kind of particular thing you want in it? Kind of, you tell us, what kind of level do you want this to be at? You know, how does it read?
I think I'd keep it short because just less opportunity to give something away. And it would just be, I'm sure that Silver in the past has received notes from people about criminal activity and would know, like, people just write short notes, like, it's not super incriminating, but like just enough details in there.
And enough euphemism in there.
Yeah, like just enough that they could tie it back
the location, the date.
Yeah,
exactly. Method of entry, etc.
Absolutely. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Well, that is there now. So I think the plan, is to. So as we said, we found the hiding place for this guy, where the deacon. Deacon Evander hides these missives from the Church of Ecstasy. So what you're doing is nabbing those missives, leaving this in their place, re-bricking up that little hole, and then we still need to find a place to put the makeshift explosive, right?
Did you say there were like wax seals on those letters or something?
No.
Was that my imagination? Right.
You know what? Okay. There were, but they're broken open because he's read them.
Sure. But I'm kind of wondering, could we transfer some of those seals onto the parchment to make it look extra. But probably don't need to.
You just rolled a 6. Like
it's fine,
I
it's fine.
don't think it's needed. But
In which case, I'm all for we could lift some of these floorboards over here, and then like, is there like a rug somewhere on the floor that we could like then leave?
would you
not
like there to
fully-
be a rug?
Yes, so that then we could like have it like slightly like not flat. And like,
Slightly
sure.
overturned.
that rug is lifted up. What? Why that be?
There is indeed a rug on the floor. A rather
That's my
fair
plan.
one, but one nevertheless.
And then I would like to see if we can lift the floorboards up with perhaps a roll.
Wreck?
Yeah, sure. To define a good way to do that.
Not
Who is making
wreck.
that roll and what are they rolling?
I do think Tinker has got to be the best roll for all of these things.
Tinker is good. I think Finesse would be good. I think Wreck would be good. But you probably don't want to roll a 1 on it. Or Bricks has like excavated the floor of this apartment.
How good are
Bricks.
you at wrecking?
For that, Bricks throughout this entire thing has been not exactly slacking, but he seems less enthusiastic than usual to throw himself into heavy labor.
Oh, you deserve a rest after being horribly shot previous session.
That's a good point, folks. Our filthy players are poor form in this. Do remember, players, to make note of your harm when you make rolls and whether they apply and stuff. I think Bricks is the main one who's harmed at the moment, right?
Yeah,
I
I
have
have
no hops.
I have healing burns. I imagine that might be bad if somebody touches me or if they see me.
Yeah, but is that like a level 1 harm?
Level 1 harm, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be like it's less effect on like you know maybe you're trying to convince someone or something and that you're like a respectable individual and they're like I don't know you look pretty freshly burned there, pal. Like
Right. Okay. I would be happy to. Yeah. I'd be happy to see if we can lift some of these floorboards with
Sure.
whatever.
Well, what are you using, and is anyone helping you?
Bricks will have brought a crowbar with him.
What about
So,
instead
help.
of demolition tools? We instead have other types of tools that are available that are not used for destroying things.
What?
Like, the phrase when you've got a hammer, everything's a nail.
And Bricks has a hammer.
To be
not
fair,
with
if you
him,
want to
that
lift
would be
old floorboards, I
suspicious.
think you will use a crowbar. Like I don't think
Exactly.
there's specific
Yeah.
like careful floorboard lifting tools.
There certainly are, but
Not for old stuff. Like I just can't imagine what it would be.
sure.
Especially not in Blades in the Dark. You know what I mean?
There are no carpenters in Blades in the Dark. Buildings just sprung into life.
Clearly what I meant. Yes, Justin, that's right.
Okay. Well, let's
Either
roll
way,
something.
it's Bricks' load. He hasn't brought the sledgehammer, but he has brought the crowbar. If Three Sheets doesn't want it,
I
he
do want
doesn't
it.
have to take it.
I want the crowbar.
I will offer you a devil's bargain for the tick of the clock.
I will take it because I do think Tinker is the best role here to do so with.
Yeah,
out
that's going to be
any-
great effect. That's
Yeah,
gonna be really
I
solid.
don't like. There's been this has already been so much of a shit show that I think we need the great effect. So I'll have 1 dice with the Devil's Bargain, and I'm going to get assistance from someone for stress.
I'm happy to assist if no one else is.
With like yeah. So that gives me 2 dice
Mhm.
because I want. Yeah, so that's what I'm rolling,
That's good.
and I rolled a 4 and a 3.
Okay, not too bad.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Not too bad at all. What complication am I going to put in there for this?
I always manage to get my hands jammed in things. It's always the way that Tristan's always just hands get messed up by grabbing hold of
Sure.
rusty crap or.
So, yeah, I am going to. Okay, so the result from that was actually the tick of a second clock as well. So,
Cool.
just so you know, the complication. So, You have levered up one of these floorboards underneath the rug. The kind of explosive mechanism or explosive fluid you have fits quite nicely under there, and you kind of rest it down gently among all the cobwebs and dust down there, and sort of brush your hand of the more unpleasant bits of it as it comes back out. I'm not going to make you roll to reseat it and to like you say, like lay the rug, but like curl the edge back a bit to make like a blue coat go a glue sort of thing. That's the idea, right?
Yeah, the rug's going to be up a bit, and also the brick that in the fireplace is slightly out of place. Those are the two things.
Absolutely. Well, then, it seems to me like the job here has been done for the most part. So now I believe the talk was that Three Sheets and Echo will in some way shepherd the bluecoats here, or at least observe them or manage them in some way, but we're not quite sure how that's going to pan out yet. And Silver and Bricks are going to go find the Deacon and keep him away from the apartment for as long as possible. Is that the general idea?
Yep.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
We don't see any like I think obvious about theatre tickets for tonight sitting on the like you know.
No, but no one has mentioned searching the place yet for things rather than places to hide stuff, or looking at anything that's there that I mentioned.
Okay, in that case, I definitely would flick open some of those new books that seem slightly out of place.
So they are all of them books, kind of accounts, journals dealing with. They're kind of you live in an empire, in the Akarosi Empire, and they are imperial tracts dealing with the exploration and pioneering acts of loyal Akarosi gentlemen in various foreign, often considered uncivilized lands. You know, they are you know what I mean. They're like adventure explorer books from like a Victorian type era, with everything colonial that comes with that implied. But clearly, this fellow is a fan of such literature.
Okay.
I don't know how you're going to use that, but for what it's worth, that's what it is.
I am kind of disgusted by this man.
Oh yeah, there's a couple that are like, my travels in sort of darkest Taikarosi sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe Silver can get her disguise kit out as a lady adventurer in foreign lands to weave a spell of your horrible colonial adventures.
Or maybe you can have a copy of this guy's book.
Yeah, in a less farcical scenario. Yes.
Why would we want that?
Oh, this is just what I was reading.
That looks exactly like my copy. No.
I'll definitely take a copy, and I'll make a mental note of some of the names, particularly any that might still be alive. I don't know if they're like...
A lot of them are contemporary.
Okay. Nice.
When you say, are you taking one of them, or are you just kind of flicking through it and making kind of mental notes?
No, I just make mental notes, I think. I think that should hopefully be enough.
Okay, we might need a roll for that, but I think that roll comes later when you're trying to relate the information, right? Okay. So yeah, absolutely. Okay, I feel like let's separate out, and let's separate Silver and Bricks off first. So let's shuffle Justin and Pierre to one side, if we can. Yeah, that actually worked. As in, it looked good, not as in it wasn't me doing it.
Professional.
That's impossible. So everyone knows out there. Technology has not yet progressed to that level. So. Yeah, so you are going to go out and try and... I guess first you got to find the guy, right?
Yeah.
So you have an idea of the places where he hangs out from the accounts of Three Sheets and the information given to you by Cersei of the Grinders. So how are we finding him? What role are we making to find this guy?
I don't know if Bricks has any ideas. Maybe survey, if it's surveying an area where we kind of know
Yeah,
he is.
I think it's a valid role. I don't think it's the best one, but I think it's definitely a valid one.
Don't have any
One
hunt.
I can think of.
Hunt is very obviously the peak, yeah, but
Okay, I can try survey, or I don't know, Bricks. If you have survey, I'll assist you. I don't mind.
I have a single survey, so I can do that.
Okay, that's the same as me. I'll assist for 1 stress.
okay. And do I have a devil's bargain for you? Yes, I have a devil's bargain for you for a tick of a clock.
I feel like Bricks maybe needs some good luck, so I'm going to regret it, but I'm going to take that tick.
Okay. It's worth noting, by the way, that when I say a tick of a clock, I don't always mean a single tick. Just so you know. I just mean a clock is progressing. But it's always like that, so it wouldn't have been any different for anything else. I'm just saying it because I always say a tick of a clock, and I may be erroneously giving the impression that when I say that, I mean a tick of a clock.
You totally just tick like
I'm a liar.
boxes.
Is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Just tick the entire clock.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the clock is ticked. Well, I don't.
That's my highest is a 5.
The highest is a 5. That doesn't mean that's not why I'm noting something down. Yeah, you. It takes you a little while going through various kind of taverns and odd warehouses of various kinds until you finally find him, and he looks to be. And you know what? Let's have a bit of randomization here, shall we? Let's say that he is stood talking kind of in an area where dock workers are kind of like heaving supplies. They're actually heaving supplies off one of the huge Leviathan hunter vessels that's kind of moored out in the harbor. They don't actually pull up to pull up. You know what I mean? They don't actually come in to the dockside directly. They're far too big to do that. You know, they would be beached. Their keels would grind into the harbor underneath, so they have to kind of anchor about 100 feet or so off the shoreline, and then just lots of smaller craft like bring their supplies back aboard, and that's currently happening at the moment. You don't recognize the ship, and it's a bit too far out and a bit too dimly lit to be able to read the name on it, but regardless, yeah, he's stood among the dock workers there, and he is talking to a member of the Lamp Blacks, which is a gang or crew or faction of Duskfall that you actually had a job offered from them, but ended up not taking it. They are a former lamplighter guild turned to crime when their services were replaced by electric lights. They have kind of a reputation among the working classes, kind of folk heroes, kind of lovable rogues standing up to the powers that be. But that doesn't stop people who cross them turning up with their legs broken or worse. So maybe that reputation is somewhat deserved. Maybe it's not. You don't know. You haven't had much contact with them. They are one of the gangs that furiously constantly fight over the district known as Crow's Foot in the center of Duskwall, which you stay well out of so far.
Okay. I think I'd say to Bricks, perhaps it's best we don't make contact yet, but wait until he starts to go home.
Looks like he's suitably distracted.
Yeah, exactly. We can leave him for now, but just keep an eye on him and try to intercept, I suppose.
Absolutely. So at the moment, you're just kind of keeping an eye. You're not kind of doing anything too controversial. You're just keeping an eye on him, talking to these couple of Lamp Blacks. You know it's them, by the way, because lots of the factions and gangs within Duskwall are very visibly a member. You know, they carry marks or colors or something like that, primarily so that I can tell you who people are when they turn up. The Lamp Blacks, I don't know, let's think about it. They used to be lamplighters, right? And lamplighters would have long poles, right? So they could light, lamps up on the side. And let's say they have adapted those and tend to use them in brutal street combat. And the two individuals he's talking to, the two women he's talking to, have like those long kind of like retractable sort of tin poles strapped to their back. They're kind of out of their territory a little bit. Especially because the red sashes tend to hang out on the docks, and you know for sure they're not fond of each other. But for whatever reason, they're here and they're talking to the deacon, and he seems to be having a quite lengthy conversation with them, but eventually breaks off away from them and starts wandering off. You're not sure if he's heading home. He's heading in roughly that direction, but he could be going to any number of different places. So are we kind of trying to do what we want to do now, or are we going to see where he goes?
I think the thing is, we might have to like distract this guy for the whole day, and I feel like that's going to be tough. So I think we would, in my opinion, I think we should try to wait to see if he's definitely going home, and then hopefully we can still intercept him. But I don't know what Bricks thinks.
No, I think that sounds about right, because he might be going to another work meeting.
If you want to track him and stay hidden, I am going to ask that you make a roll to do so, just so you know. So you're going to end up making a roll either way. So just
yeah.
I think I'm going to make a roll to track him.
Sure. I would guess that this is Prowl.
I was going to say hunt.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's fine. That's fine too, yeah.
I don't have any prowl, so...
I think that's fine. I am not going to offer you a devil's bargain on this because I feel like it's already covering the basis of the clock. So,
how's your hunt?
One thing.
I'll assist.
Okay, I don't think my harm factors into this.
What's your harm again?
Healing stomach wound.
No, I think that's kind of fine. Yeah. Are you going to push yourself or anything?
Yes, I'm going to push myself. It's an extra 2 stress. Three fours.
3 4s. That
Nice.
is absolutely fine. So, yeah, you managed to track him. You're slightly worried that a couple of points he kind of noticed you lurking around, but it's tough to tell. The docks are busy. You know, it's still kind of like mid-evening, really. Not that has a huge amount of difference in Duskval, where it is permanently shrouded in darkness. But among the kind of like the many lanterns on the docks at this time and the amount of people moving around, you know, a lot of goods being moved off that Leviathan hunter. You don't know. Maybe he noticed you, maybe he didn't. Either way, you find him at this point wandering into one of the taverns on the docks, and we'll give a name to that tavern, and that name will be what you two decide, and you have time to decide because you're being shuffled off for the other group. So you two decide between you what that tavern is called, and we'll return and deal with that. Can we swap people, please, Steve? Thank you. Lovely. Hey.
Hello.
So this is now roughly happening about the same time as the other group. Tell me how you are waiting or preparing. Like, what approach are you taking with these blue coats? Are you lurking nearby to just keep an eye on it? Are you at one point people were like, we should meet them. Are you still thinking that, or
no,
are you lurking nearby? You know, what are you doing?
I think my initial thing is trying to tidy the place up so that it of our presence here. So trying to my best to close that door. I know I can't fix the mechanism, but just make it so it's like approximately.
Sure. Yeah, you're gonna make a roll to try and fix the shit you caused.
Yeah,
essentially,
and maybe try and get the glass to
do some glazier work.
Well, no, try and make it seem like, I don't know, a bird flew into it or something, as opposed to it was removed and then fell off. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it looks currently like...
Get a dead bird and throw it in the room.
I mean...
What I have instead wanted to do was if we smash some glass outside of the place, right as they're arriving, that might give them incentive to go inside because they might be like, oh, the glass is smashed. Maybe it's being robbed, right? You know what I mean? Like kind of like so. Then we can kind of, tidy the whole glass smashing away as in maybe it happened around about the same time that the blue cloaks were entering, rather than it being obvious that someone has broken into this apartment through a window.
I don't know. I think we're sort of relying.
Maybe you're right. Yeah.
I think to some extent we're relying on the Bluecoats being like, maybe this is a setup, but they don't pay me enough, and I found something. I guess this guy's going away.
Okay.
Because
why don't we do the tidying up roll then?
So we're doing tidying up, and then is the idea we're tidying up and then lurking nearby, and if anything needs doing, we then deal with that.
Yeah, trying to keep an eye out. If we, for example, see the guy coming, we might actually have to just
tackle him or or whatever. Yeah, sure, absolutely. Let's sort that. So it sounds like Echo is at least leading that role to tidy up.
Yeah.
So what role is it, and are you employing 3 sheets for any help or anything?
Survey?
Yeah, I suppose it could be.
Or study?
I could try a survey just to see.
I think surveys. Remember how it was, and then make sure.
See where our fingerprints are. I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'll roll that.
I feel like it's more of a study roll, but
I have 0 points in study and a few points and 1 point in survey.
I would say it's actually more of a survey roll.
Okay, sure.
I think study is more like learning and
sure.
Careful, measured.
I'm happy to take a slightly better effect, but so I'm not going to disagree. So I'll just roll it. I think, unless you're assisting or unless there is.
I'm happy to assist if you like.
Yes, please.
I'm assisting. I'm taking a point of stress.
I rolled a 3 and a 4, so
okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Just make it worse.
You definitely don't it's not an amazing job that you do, but neither is it a catastrophic one. You basically reach a conclusion. There is nothing you can do about that window. Just nothing.
So leaving it is the clever thing.
Just leave it and assume they don't make a big deal out of it. You jimmy the door lock back into place though, so that's good. And you're pretty sure that there's no one. I mean, blue coats don't check for fingerprints, so you're pretty good there. But you just make sure everything is as it is when you found it. You're pretty sure.
Clean up the huge muddy boot prints of bricks.
Yeah, and that brick over the fireplace, you get a bit of brick dust and just put it around the edges of it so it doesn't look clean and pulled out. Things like that. But that window, that's a write-off. It's an absolute write-off.
Maybe he broke it before he left.
Maybe he did. Who knows?
In rage.
But either way, as you emerge onto the fire escape, you see just further down the street from where you are, because it's quite a high vantage here, up 4 stories up. You see a little group of blue coats walking down the street towards this tenement building, and you're pretty sure you recognize Darmot. So it might be a good time to get out of the way sharpish. You've got time to do so. I'm not going to ask you to make a roll for it, but do you want? However, it's up to you. I think you can just generally secrete yourself around, maybe across the street, or do you want to roll to see how well you do it?
I would like to roll to get a good vantage point.
I think that's a good idea. What roll are you making for that?
Do you think hunt is a sensible skill?
I think it's a decent one with a standard thing. I think prowl would get you a great.
Happy to roll prowl.
Effect.
Happy to roll prowl.
Shall we do a group action?
Sure.
Because I think I'm kind
of.
We
haven't had one yet, so sure.
Yeah.
I'll lead a group action.
I have no devil's bargain for you.
I can take a few more stress, but there's only a couple of us. I am rolling. I got a 5 and a 6. I've got really good rolls.
So
Okay, so that's pretty damn good, and no stress for Justin.
Good.
So, yeah, you find yourself across the street, and you know what? There's a lot of tenements with exactly the same fire escapes. And you literally find one opposite and at the level, not the same level, not that fourth floor, but at the third floor, there's like someone has put together a rather roughshod awning out of kind of stretched fabric and bits of wood and corrugated metal. And you kind of tuck yourselves under that, and you're in quite a good position to observe across the street without being seen. And now what I'm going to do, basically, I'm going to do a fortune roll for how the blue coats act, okay? So, and here's how it pads out. 1 die for general luck. 1 die because you engage Dartmouth's services. 1 die because they're really mad about those explosions still. And then I was going to take some away based on how well you covered it. You rolled a 4. Like if you'd got a 6, I wouldn't have taken any dice away.
Yep.
And if you've got a failure, I'd have taken like 2 dice away or something. But because you got a 4, I just thought, well, I'll take 1 die away.
Okay.
So there we go. So this is the fortune roll of how they deal with it. And your ideal, just so I get it here, your ideal is that they go in as hard and intense as possible, right? That they're mad and they think they're going to find someone linked with it, and they're just going in with preconceptions, and that's your idea, right?
Yeah. We want them to find the...
Okay. Let's see how this goes for you. Rolled a 1.
Fuck.
And we rolled another number.
Another 1.
The blue coats ascend the fire escape. You can see Dartmouth with them. There's 2 other blue coats with him. They ascend all the way to the top, and you see them kind of like sharing words backwards and forwards at the top of this fire escape. And you see Dartmouth kind of like holding his hand up, kind of, you can't quite hear what he's saying, but he seems to be kind of trying to reason with them. And one of the other ones, a big woman with like a shaved head and jagged, looks like a burn scar on the front of her face, shoves him to one side and heaves the door down with a massive kick with that 6, and just piles on in there. The other one kind of shoves Dharma aside as well, and piles on in. Immediately you hear the sound of like furniture being overturned, things being thrown around, and kind of general violent searching is going down in that location. Darmot kind of like is kind of backing away from kind of, oh, I tried to reason with you, and kind of backs away, and you see him go in behind them himself, clearly quite pleased with how he's riled them up. You're not entirely sure that you need to hang around for the rest. Do you want to? Or
we want to. I want to.
Okay.
Like
you can. We'll see what happens later. Can we have another switcheroo, please, Steve? Back, because of course the others don't know this. So we're still going to have them trying to delay this guy. So we've decided that the name of the tavern is the Yellow Goat, which has been named in memory of the lost goat companion of 2 weeks ago. When you go into the Yellow Goat, you can see Deacon Evander sat at the back sharing a small drink, and that small drink is with, and I'm just going to roll another dodgy or slightly dodgy contact for him. That's interesting. Ooh. Interesting. That is with an individual. You're not sure who they are, but they're dressed quite well, and they are notably Taikarosi. And they're notably Taikarosi because they have kind of a sweeping set of sort of almost horn-like ridges down across their scalp and down the back of their neck. She's talking to the deacon, and she seems quite nervous about it. Not scared of him so much as just generally unhappy about being here. But he seems engaged in a protracted conversation.
Okay. We don't I think we've discussed that we didn't really want this guy to recognize us.
Mm-hmm.
So could I flash back to doing disguises on me and Bricks?
Yeah, absolutely. You can spend stress how you want, and how much stress you spend determines how good your disguise is. Between 0 and 2. I think that might be how I run flashbacks from now on, just letting you spend what you want for the result that you want.
I'll spend...
I like that.
I don't want to spend 2. I'll spend 1 stress
Sure.
on these disguises.
I mean, we're not currently planning on getting really close, so...
Sure.
Yeah, and we're not trying to look like anything, just not like...
Not us.
Sure, absolutely. I think
Yeah.
Silver, maybe you're wearing like a, you've got a wig and maybe like some kind of, you've put like noticeable freckles on your face and stuff like that. It's a disguise, but it's not, you're not there in like a big cloak with a fake beard, like, you're not there on Brick's shoulders wearing one long coat.
Okay. All right, Bricks. I think I have a plan. Let's try to get quite close, but not too close, within earshot. And when it sounds like they're wrapping up, just go with me on this.
Sure.
All right.
So their conversation takes quite a long time. You're there for an hour and a half before their discussion, which seems quite fevered and is mostly in kind of quite intense whispers, drags to a close. And the Taikarosi woman kind of stands up and almost kind of flees the tavern, looking very unhappy. The deacon, who is quite a somber, even looking man in that long coat, sort of quite primly brushes down his coat from some crumbs of like a pastry, some kind of mushroom pastry he was eating, and starts to make to stand to leave.
Okay, at that point, I want to think of one of the names that was mentioned in the books as a contemporary kind of explorer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say very loudly to Bricks, making sure that it's audible. Like, I couldn't believe it. But did you hear that this explorer, they're arriving back today? It should be any minute now on the pier, just the other side of the docks. I think we'll head over there if you're up for it. I'd love to see them. I'm sure there's going to be a huge welcoming party for them. Who knows what wonders they've discovered on their trips to
This is great.
to Severus, or I don't know what continents there are. But
so is the idea of this? Sorry, that you're kind of generally saying this to Bricks. You're not like randomly talking to a stranger going,
No.
You look like you're interested in explorers.
yeah, I'm just saying it to Bricks, but nice and loud and
Sure.
quite near to the guy.
Sure. What role are you making for that? I'm guessing it's going to be consort, or sway, but
Consort. I think consort is best.
I think consort's a very good one for it. I think this is, I haven't been mentioning the positions of these roles. Most of the roles tonight have either been controlled or risky, but I think this is a controlled role. I don't see why. This guy's got no idea what's going down. So why don't you give me that role there? Are you being assisted by anything? I don't have a devil's bargain for you. Yeah.
I'm gonna respond. I love that guy. It was his writing that convinced my granddad to leave the Dagger Isles because it was such a shithole.
Because it was about to be colonized by fucking Akarosi.
That's my assistance.
Sure.
Okay, nice. So I rolled 3 dice, and I got a 4, a 3, and a 2.
4, a 3, and a 2. You know what? As you say that, you see him kind of like his head turns and he glances over, and he almost looks like he's going to speak to you a moment, and then he sort of doesn't do so, but he kind of downs his drink quite quickly and stands up and brushes himself clean again and marches out of the Yellow Goat with purpose, it seems, and in the rough direction of where you described, kind of the dock where the ship might be pulling in.
Okay, I would have made sure to mention like some dock that's
The
as
far
far,
side
yeah,
of
the
docks.
furthest dock where they might reasonably come in. Okay,
Sure, absolutely. Are you going to follow him there, or is this kind of is that the close of your little operation?
maybe we'd head out to just check he's going in the direction we wanted, but I don't think we'd follow him all the way there. He might.
Sure.
I don't know what Brick.
He does. I won't make you roll for it. He does indeed seem to be heading in that direction. After this point, are you going to kind of go back to meet with the others? Do you consider your part of the job done, and you kind of retreat back to the lighthouse? What's the situation? And you know what? Bring back the others while we're having this conversation, because I think it's worth asking. You know, how long do 3 Sheets and Silver wait? Do you wait until the Deacon returns?
I would like to.
I
Okay.
think at a certain point, I'm like watching Dharma and them through the windows or whatever, or catching glimpses. And every time I sort of see Dharma, I like feel like a twinge in my belly, and I'm like,
This is a ship love story that I was not entirely anticipating.
So 3 Sheets is just there like going, huh.
yeah, and I'm like, I'm not feeling so good. 3 Sheets. I think I'm gonna go, and I'm going to leave.
Fair enough.
I think after Echo's even left, I'll go, bye.
Bricks and Silver, are you meeting up again with 3 Sheets, or are you heading off as well? Do you consider the evening's work to be done once you've distracted the Deacon?
Well, I mean, we probably want to make sure that we distracted him enough.
Yeah,
So maybe
it's entirely up
walk
to you guys. I don't want a big debate. I literally want to know who's in this last scene, and that's it. I just want to know.
Well, once we realise that the blue coats are there, we'll leave and meet up with 3 Sheets.
I make a noise like a Daggerall seabird, and you know where I'm
Yeah.
headed.
That's fine. We don't need to. So it seems like everyone's there but Echo to see the results of this. And again, I'm going to roll a fortune roll. And I'm going to, it is a bit based on kind of like GM knowledge, I guess, of what the best outcome is for you guys on this. So what we're going to do,
what fortune's about.
we have the 1 die. We have the die for Dalmore's influence. We have the die, I think, for the success of the last roll. And do we want anything? Does the distraction help or harm? You know what? In this specific case, I think it may have harmed. So I'm going to remove a die for that. And then we'll roll and see what we get. Okay. So you lurk there on that fire escape under that awning, watching across the way until you see a couple of hours later the rather disappointed and dour-looking figure of the Deacon wanders along the street, clambers up that fire escape after a kind of odd glance at the pile of glass just in front of the tenement building, wanders up to the door, which has since been closed for an hour or so now, and there's been relative quiet in there. Occasionally you've seen one of the blue coats like wandering past the windows. He opens the door, and through a window you see that blue coat with the burned face kind of leap across the room, drag him in, and just start pounding his face bloody. He kind of drops to the ground, and she kind of drops out of view, and you just see like her arm pulling back and striking again and again until the other 2 blue coats, the other one and Dharma kind of heave her off and drag her aside. The other one kind of picks the Deacon up and kind of shakes him a bit, and he's kind of, you can tell even from this distance, he's alive, but he's really in a very bad way. And they kind of drag him out of view, and then the shutters come across on the windows. You've probably seen all you're going to see for tonight. And that, I think, is the end of our score.
Cool.
So, let's start moving to wonderful downtime activity, folks. As my mouse it wouldn't be a Blades in the Dark session unless my mouse gave up partway through. So let's talk first about, I believe it's Rep and Coin first, right? And I think, I think this would be considered a relatively small job. And also, it was pretty tipped to you that the grinders weren't going to pay you that much for it. So I think they'll pay, I'll say they'll pay you 2 coin for this, but they're not going to take coin for it. It's a job they've given you. Why? It wouldn't make any sense for them to take coin, right? I think they have given you a job before and I've just knocked some coin off it. But, I think 2's fine. 2. Take 2 coin. That's fine.
Cool.
As for your rep, this is the thing. So you earn 2 rep by default. Now, the target of the score, this is an interesting thing because the way we kind of set it up is it's not almost directed against the Church of Ecstasy. It's directed against this guy.
Yeah.
The way you've set it up. So I'm not actually going to balance it for that. And it's not a big public act against the Church of Ecstasy. So let's just go with 2 rep, I think, built from this one.
Yep.
As for heat,
this is potentially quite a bit of heat.
Yeah, I think you've left enough there that maybe some of it could be pinned to you. So I'm going to go for 2 heat for this.
Yep.
But feel free to just change that to 1 to account for your regular downtime reduction. Yeah. And there we go. So let's move on to your entanglements. So John, how much heat are you on?
3.
3 heat and 2 wanted level, right? Correct. Ooh, what have we got? Ooh. Huh. That's interesting.
A stabbing.
In the Church of Ecstasy.
Nicholas goes to church.
Oh, he's got his whole spin-off series.
Okay, you don't have any +3 factions, do you? Factions that are super friendly with you.
No.
Then no entanglements.
Are the grinders not a +3 with us yet?
No, there's still
+2.
We're working with them all the time.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
I've got
+3 is like tight allies. Like you're in with the leadership. You know what I mean? Like you're considered almost the same crew.
Whereas we're minions.
Yeah, you are minions.
I've even only got them as +1 on here.
Really?
Kind of only just started working for them.
Maybe this
Could
score
have
gets
a
us to
big
+2. Possible.
Yeah, you can now move them to +2. I'm pretty sure we did already do that. We may want to look at our reputation stuff because I'm pretty sure I bumped them up when we did a bunch of bump ups a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
But we can discuss that offline.
Cool.
So downtime activities. I would assume, but correct me if I'm wrong, that you would like to wait for your rover action last, so you know what's been taken care of already. Yeah. Does that sound about right?
Yep.
Okay. In which case, I always roll the wrong die to randomize this. Pierre, what would you like your first downtime activity to be?
I think it's got to be stress relief.
Got to be the old stress relief. Are we going back to Traven's after your embarrassment last time?
So there was some embarrassment, but I think that given the fact that Traven has approached us with
one of your score options for this
potential job, I think I'm willing to trust him again. So I will roll my dice. I rolled a 6, which is an overindulgence.
Class.
Wonderful. Love it.
6s aren't always good.
Yeah, so of the overindulgence options there, we have you select or roll an additional entanglement. It's +2 heat for bragging about exploits. You can Echo can vanish for a few weeks, and you'll play a backup character until she returns. Or Traven cuts you off. Find a new source for your vice. That would also, I would judge, that would also cut off that opportunity that he's provided towards you.
Okay, I really don't want that. Is it my choice or is it?
It's your choice.
Heat.
Heat is normally the quote-unquote safe way of going forward.
I would say that while kind of you walk in and you don't apologize to Traven, but you kind of explain your actions, and in explaining your actions, you explain how the various circumstances that led you to the place, to his, not arrest, but his detainment and the rest of it. And as you do so, like another customer like walks out from behind that back room area and just kind of like looks oddly at you and walks out of the door.
Oh God.
I think
another slow clap for Echoes.
I think I just like look at
Smoke shop
Traven
behaviour.
and I go, "What did I just?" Oh, yeah.
Traven just kind of tilts that odd angular head at you with that pale, featureless mask, and just gestures with one long finger towards you and says, "Perhaps discretion is something to value." And kind of shakes his head like, "But no need to worry about that now," and shepherds you towards that back room and a wonderful
Had a long
psychedelic experience. Yeah. Who is next? Let's look who's next. It is Sam. What is Silver doing, Sam?
Definitely some stress relief first.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe I've got a bit of a taste for my new kind of fad hobby of forging notes. I'm going to go buy some fancy pens and ink and paper and stuff.
Very
Sounds nice.
Very nice. How does that roll go?
Let me do it. I roll a 4. Reasonable.
Reasonable. Yeah, you find the Doskwall equivalent of my first calligraphy set, and feverishly scribble away in the lighthouse until I always want to say like, oh, until dawn, or something like that, but
There's no dawn.
there's no dawn. Next up, we have John.
I'm going to indulge my vice. So I'm going to bet on probably again Marlene in the
Fighting
pits.
pits.
Did I roll? I'm just going to check that I did just roll the right thing. I did. My highest was a 4, so that is almost perfect.
Good.
Nice.
Marlene still fighting well, still treating you a bit oddly, but maybe we can work on that later. Justin, what's yours? I'm assuming another
Same as everyone
stress.
else.
Yeah, always the first
And
one.
I cleared my remaining stress. So
Wonderful.
Go off, have a nice experience, no overindulgence.
Nice. Another couple of days of squalor and hedonism in the basement of the Red Lantern.
Squalor hedonism here, squalor hedonism there. Like wherever I go, I'm
Your
going to be in
life
the same
in general.
situation.
Yeah.
Exactly.
and in 3 sheets.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's you again next, Justin.
Well, this is difficult. I am so close to tracking down my arch rival that I
Or at least
feel
finding
like,
a lead. Finding an actionable lead.
No, tracking down.
It'll give you a score, is what it'll do.
And so I am going to roll to do that.
Just roll.
And I rolled a 3 and a 6. Wait, I don't know why I rolled. I don't know what I was rolling. I just rolled random dice. I don't know.
It's a long-term project.
2 dice.
It's a long-term project, so you just roll any action.
I want to roll. So there's 2 in it, and it will be hunt. I'm hunting him.
Sure.
He's under the hunt.
That seems good. Where were we last time with this? I believe you'd found
Last time.
someone.
Yeah, we'd found. I've written this down. Steiner powder, Tycherosi powder.
Kind of Tycherosi powder, and I think you'd found someone who might supply that or something like that.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, that sounds right. You know what? You find this individual. You know where they
They're
are.
dead.
They have a shop in 6 Towers.
Yeah.
There will be a score available next week, and it's just going to hover there. It probably won't elapse because it's like a score you've created. It's an opportunity you're taking off your own back. So there will be a score now available to investigate further, or investigate this shop. And remind me of that if it doesn't turn up in the score list for the available scores for next week. But you can complete that project, John. But you know what? Leave it on there completed to remind us that it's to that it's there. 3 sheets can lead the charge on this. There we go. Who is next? It is John.
Okay, I am going to mend bridges with Marlene. I think
Okay,
I
what are
only
you
have
rolling
one
for that?
segment left. My usual with Marlene will be skirmish.
Mm-hmm.
So, I rolled a 6.
Okay. You get to sparring with Marlene after you've kind of bet on her, and you have a good session. It almost feels like old times again. And after it's done, you actually won this one, although she got a couple of good blows in on you. You know, they're pulled blows because you don't want to actually hurt each other, but still, they still hurt. You're both large, powerful individuals. And afterwards, as she's kind of like unwinding the tape and bandages binding her fists to try and keep them safe and keep you a little bit safe, she just glances over at you and says, "Look, the stuff on the ship, what that whisper was saying, what the grinder was saying, just forget you heard it, all right? Just don't talk about it.
Wasn't planning on.
All right." She drops the binding into like a nearby sort of bin for that purpose. It's wheeled later to be incinerated in the bowels of Iron Hook Prison, and kind of lifts her carry bag onto her shoulder and goes, "We're all right," and walks out of the pits. You have fixed your relationship with Marlene. And next we have Pierre.
You see, part of me was tempted to do a win-back Darmot, but I just don't think it's appropriate.
Don't have the heart for it right now.
Yeah, I really don't.
No.
I like fold up a little picture that I have and stuff it in my pocket, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna improve red silks. That's the thing that I'm going.
That's what you're working on. Let's get going on that. What kind of role is that? I think you've just been doing prowl to just steal medical equipment for them so far.
Yeah, I'm happy. Like, if it would have greater effect to do a survey or like
nothing has any greater effect than another. It's all the same with long-term projects.
In that case, I will do some prowling. I rolled a 6.
That's 3 segments then. How does that look, John?
That is on 7 out of 8.
Okay. Yeah, you steal some good shit, Echo. Clearly you want to sink yourself into your work after the emotional turmoil, unexpected emotional turmoil. I was not expecting a romance to be implied or implicit in anything that we were doing, but hey, sure. You throw yourself into it. You find some good stuff, like fine tools like forceps and more direct tools like bone saws, even some ether for putting people out for a while, things like that, which Red Silks receives. You're not sure. I mean, you've never seen their face or anything other than swaths of red silk and a vague kind of like darkness where eyes glint inside, but they seem grateful for what it's worth, and almost maybe slightly reliant on you now for supplying them, because I tell you what, they don't seem to be getting much other equipment from presumably their anarchist contacts. Maybe Decker's struggling a bit. Sam.
I am going to let Red Silks try and improve me.
Okay. It's worth noting, sorry, someone's just written in chat, you can spend a coin to upgrade effects in projects. So if you wanted, you could spend the coin and finish Red Silks now. It's up to you. And that can be coin in the keeper's piggy bank. Because I don't think anyone's divvied out coin for tonight, right? Because it was 2, so.
Right. Correct.
I think after subtracting standard Echo tax, I think it was 1, because I've just spent a coin to upgrade Red Silks. Yeah, I think I will spend one of the keeper's coin on Red Silks.
Seems valid. Red Silks is very happy with what you've offered. Kind of gesticulates what seems to be, gestures of gratitude towards you, and even slightly taps you on the back as you leave. Seems happy and well stocked. And on that note, Sam, if you're getting healed, you can now roll 2 dice. Because we note now wherever on the sheet, I don't mind where that Red Silks is tier 2, and if people are concerned out there about the ruling around this, I'll just go over again what we're doing. Normally, all the assets of a faction roll the number of dice of the tier, and the keepers are still tier 1. But we have decided that each asset can be approved with a long-term project, but only up one grade. It would be weird to end up having like a tier 5 asset with a tier 1, so you can bump it up to 2 while you're at there. That will not I will also rule, by the way, when you go to tier 2, Red Silks does not go to tier 3. You would need another project to bump up to tier 3 from there, so it's a temporary thing, but it's still valuable. Anyway, Silver, you get 2 dice to roll on your recovery instead of 1.
My best result was a 4. I only need 1 tick of this.
Well, that's 2 segments, so you can take that. What was your harm there?
It was a mostly healed, dislocated shoulder from the goats.
From the goats.
The goat. When we were leaving, I was leaving on a carriage from the explosions.
And the
the
goat pulled on your arm and yanked it, kind of dislocated your arm. Yeah. Well, feels good as new. I'm assuming that's just gone from tier 1 to 0, right? So, your arm feels good as new after Red Silks applies some foul-smelling unguents to it. Okay, that's all our regular actions. Shall we do our rover one, and then we can check if people want to do additional actions? So what are we going to get the rovers to do? Because it's not any, right? It's specific ones. Acquiring an asset, reducing heat, or work on a long-term project.
I think we're on 5 heat, so reducing heat would probably be a good call.
Yeah.
That's a good shout. I'm sure Nicholas wouldn't mind some methods of doing that. Well, they're tier 1, so just go ahead and someone roll for them.
Rix, you tell them what to do.
6.
Hey.
Nice.
They go out. Odgar kind of nods and kind of goes out and comes back and doesn't really say what's happened, but you get the sense that he has directed Nicholas's more immediate urgings into a more productive way forward, as you hear of several people kind of who talk a lot of crap about the keepers on the docks kind of turn up with broken bones and contusions, and in at least one case sodden and bloated and stinking, dragged from the harbour. That's 3 reduction in heat.
Nice.
Very nice.
He's great at it. You know what? I'm glad.
Just point him in the right direction.
Just needed a bit of TLC. TLC with a pistol whipping. Does anyone want to do any extra downtime activities for coin or rep?
No.
Yes.
Healing, I guess.
Yeah, I'm wondering if I want to spend rep. I think I want to spend rep.
Okay.
Because it also kind of fits, because the heavy going for medical attention is a bit.
Sure. Yep.
So I'm spending 1 rep for healing and rolling 2 dice. And I get a 5.
So that is 2 segments. Do you want to spend a coin to upgrade that?
That fills my clock.
Okay.
So that goes.
Yeah, so your harm moves down by. Oh, that's interesting. So your harm was at 3, right?
2.
Oh, it was at 2.
I healed 1 level last time.
That makes sense.
And then also a half.
And you didn't really do any rolls in this, so that hence not needing those die reductions, right? Or there was certainly. You did like a following roll or something, right?
I did a hunt
which we decided didn't.
And I did realize after I did it that I should have lowered on my skirmish roll with Marlene, but I can roll that now and then say that if I wouldn't have passed it, I can spend a coin to have passed it retroactively.
I admire honesty. Go for it.
Still would have been a 6.
There we go. Lovely. So
Well,
yeah,
it's
reduce
good.
your harm to like just healing stomach wound. And now a level 1 harm. Yeah, all the going backwards and forwards to red silks kind of in a very pained way, needing maybe, like crutches like Cersei does every now and then. Definitely a lot more people saw the cutter of the keepers as walking wounded than you would have liked, and hence the rep reduction. Is anyone else, any extractions from anyone else? Think we're good? We are good. Wonderful. That's the end of the session there, folks. If you've got any comments or questions, sling them in chat and we will address them after this lovely promo. Down below, there's a bunch of links. Links to Twitch, links to YouTube. If you're watching on one, please check out the other. There's links to our social media, our Discord, our Patreon. They all do the things they do. Go check them out if you have any interest in them. We run 3 weekly roleplay streams here on Twitch. Mondays is Call of Cthulhu, Tuesdays is Blades in the Dark, and Wednesdays is Simbaroom. Those are all on, as far as we know, next week. We also run monthly one-shots from various systems. We've run a load through the year. Alien, The Expanse, Dungeon World, Honey Heist, Fiasco, Morkborg, Troika, One Ring. That's the other one that we've done. And the next one is going to be Wander Home, which is a lovely, wholesome, pastoral fantasy role-playing game that Chris is running. That will be on the afternoon of the Saturday, the 2nd of October. Well, the afternoon if you are on BST. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon BST, and you can convert that. It's a couple of weeks away, yeah, but just so it's on your radar. All the VODs for the others are available on our YouTube, as are the VODs for all of our series. Thank you to our new followers yesterday and today. Tomotor, and I'm going to say that's Jericho Judy. Jericho Judy.
Judy.
I probably messed
Probably.
it up. Judy, sure. Yeah, comments, questions, abuse. 42, the description of the Leviathan hunting ships is very Warhammer 40k-ish. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that kind of like horrific technology, like almost archaic in it, and yet sort of sci-fi-ish at the same time, right? Yeah,
Kind
cool.
of like,
I'm happy with that.
and kind of like outside of our current technological capabilities, but also ancient.
Yes, absolutely. Sort of forgotten knowledge to a certain degree, and each one working like idiosyncratically. Like the crew of one would not be able to like man another one of them without blowing it up or something. Yeah, I like that. Another 42. So this setting is post-magical apocalypse gangs of New York. That's actually a really good description of it. Yeah. I think I'd guess that Peaky Blinders was more of like the crime thriller influence in Gangs of New York, but having never seen Peaky Blinders and having seen Gangs of New York, yes, it's definitely got kind of that vibe. And I guess, yeah, the technology level has that kind of pitch to it, right?
Yeah.
Of albeit with like extra, whatever you call it, industrial punk, steampunk like elements, like that look and feel of Gangs of New York. Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. And yes, it is post. I don't think it's defined whether it's a magical apocalypse. I think it's up to you to determine what may or may not have caused the apocalypse.
Maybe we're in the magical apocalypse right now.
Yeah, I think for most games you'll never even discover like these things are all. It's just this mysterious setting framing everything. But yeah, who knows? How deep our rabbit hole will go. Yeah, so that's everything for tonight. Thank you to all my wonderful players. Thank you to you for watching, and thank you especially to Steve for being our excellent stream manager. And we will see you next week for more Blades in the Dark next Tuesday. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.